Hi, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. And if you are a subscriber who's returning, yay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. And if you're brand new, yay, you found me. I'm so glad. I've been waiting for you. So today the movie I'm reviewing is called Broken People. This very dramatic movie is now available to stream online. The movie is rated PG-13 and is an hour and 35 minutes. My movie review mom grade is probably a C to a C minus. Wah, wah. And I always feel bad giving anybody a C. And my husband reminds me that's just average. So I guess it's average, but not quite as good. Let me give you an overview in a nutshell and point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, funny lines, and even recommendations for other movies that are sort of similar, but I found some that are way better that I want to tell you about because I just have really loved those. All right, so in a nutshell, the movie was directed and written both by Travis Ketzak. He also did all of the cinematography and film editing himself, as well as served as the executive producer. So, wow, the movie has already won Best Indie Feature Film from the Hollywood Gold Awards, New York Movie Awards, and Gothamite Monthly Film Awards. So, wow, that's a lot of praise, which makes my grades sound really bad. So keep watching and I'll tell you why. The story is about Brett and Jake, who meet in a bar and decide to drown their sorrows in whiskey, forgetting the past, ignoring the future, and exploring life, love, and tragedy together for one fateful night. So there were plenty of things that I liked about the movie. First of all, I'd never seen the two leading actors in anything before. Nicholas Scott plays Jake Barnes, who's a single man who is awaiting potentially bad news from his doctor. He's upset, so he runs to the bar. There's a scene where he talks about his parents that he did in only one take. So kudos to him. He presented, I thought, a very believable, realistic character. Harley Jennings plays Brett Ashley. I love her beautiful hair. I'll tell you about a little bit more about her in just a second. So because I'm an author of 31 books, they're all nonfiction though, not fiction stories, I'm always interested in movies that feature writers. There's a scene early on in the movie where we see the male protagonist sit at his computer with complete writer's block. Yep, it's a real thing. And so I just had to laugh when he was like, trying to come up with something. We hear a lot of cello music at the beginning and at the end of the film. And I guess I mentioned that because I love the music and I thought, and you'll recognize it, you'll thought, oh, this is great music. This is going to be a great movie. And it could have been, those could have been two songs that could have definitely sandwiched a beautiful film. I'll get to that here in just a minute. But Travis Ketzak explained that a lot of the dialogue and characters' names are from Ernest Hemingway's famous book, The Sun Also Rises. So I remember reading that book in Spain, right where he wrote it. Well, he's a lot older than I am. Actually, he's dead, but I intentionally wanted to read it in Spain and kind of get into the whole vibe. He sure was a drinker, so I'm assuming that the story is autobiographical because both of the leading characters do a lot of drinking in this movie. Now, just last spring, I got to go down to the Florida Keys for the very first time, finally, and we stayed in a lovely boutique, I want to say hotel, but it really wasn't a hotel per se. It was a bunch of bungalows right across the street from Ernest Hemingway's house, which of course we toured, and it was really fun. So back when Ernest Hemingway was a writer, he became really good friends with one of the sea captains. So the sea captain gave Ernest Hemingway one of his polydactyl cats. That's a cat with 6 toes because he was so enchanted by that. Now today, decades later, there are a bunch of polydactyl cats roaming around on the property. They're owned by Hemingway's house, his fund, his trust, whatever you call it, his legacy. And they're actually descendants from that very first cat. Okay, that is a serious digression. But anyway, that'd be kind of an interesting part of the movie. Well, not this movie, a movie. Anyway, back to the things that I liked. There's a really lovely soundtrack. And as I mentioned, the two classical songs at the beginning and end are beautiful. I've tried to learn to play them on the piano, thinking it was going to be so easy, but it definitely was not. There's also a very sweet ending that I really liked. Now, there were quite a few things that I didn't like about the movie, and I always hesitate because I know some directors actually watch my reviews. Some of them are like, hey, thanks for your feedback. That's super helpful. And others get very offended and they want me to not show my review or never see their movies again. And I think a true artist is one who has a vision and does the best that they can, but is open for improvement, suggestions on areas for growth. And so, of course, all of my reviews are really geared toward the audiences. So here we go. First of all, the acting is not very good. Harley is the main actress that bugged me, partly because in the very beginning, her eyes are very pretty, but they kept kind of darting from side to side, which was super distracting. Now, I noticed that it actually got better toward the end of the film. So maybe she was just super nervous about filming in the beginning because it did seem to just calm down a bit. Then again, maybe that was what she wanted to do for the personality. Maybe she wanted her character to seem super nervous, but it kind of looked like maybe there was an eye disorder, or I don't know. I couldn't quite figure it out, but it was distracting. And then again, like I said, Harley, if you're watching this, you did great by the end of the movie. I thought you looked much more natural. And again, maybe that was just an artistic choice that you were trying to look nervous, and then later, as you got to know this guy, you became more natural. I don't know. Comment down below if you're watching. So many of the camera shots only show us the sides of two characters' faces when they're sitting or even dancing in a bar. Now, I know that is a director's choice, but it's towards the beginning of the movie where I wanted to see their faces. I wanted to get to know them more, watch their expressions, and then watch them interacting with each other. And so it just seemed kind of odd and a little choppy. Sometimes the camera lingered way too long on something where, we're looking, and I'm like, okay, got it. Let's move on. And then sometimes there are some noticeably bad editing moments, and I always feel bad about that. Some of the scenes are filmed at nighttime when there's very little lighting. So watching the movie on a small device, if you're streaming it online, might prove a little bit difficult during those dark scenes in the bar and then the dark scenes at night. All right, so let me give you some tips for parents. First of all, I think kids are going to be extremely bored, and so will some adults, simply because not a whole lot happens. It's some dialogue, and people trying to get to know each other and trying to dig a little deeper. One of the things that's pretty cool about meeting a stranger is sometimes you can just instantly dive into the meat of a relationship or your life problem, because you're probably never going to see this person again, like on an airplane, for example. And I love that. I love that ability. And then again, sometimes you're just doing surfacey talk on airplanes. Sometimes I get lucky and I get to have these really deep conversations. I had one conversation on a 5-hour flight from coast to coast, and I was leaning like this, look at the guy next to me as we talked and talked and talked nonstop. And by the time I got off the plane, I was like, because the guy, I should have said, let's switch seats. And then we could have kept talking. And then I could, twisted my head the other way. Sorry, I'm going off on all of these tangential conversations. All right, back to the movie and the parental tips. There is some profanity, including many F-bombs. There's lots of alcohol and talk of various spirits, not ghosts, but I mean alcoholic spirits. A young woman smokes. A young man tells her not to, that it's bad for her, which is true. A young woman vomits because she drinks so much alcohol. Now, for what it's worth, I have never drank alcohol, not a sip in my life. And yet I've been around lots of people who throw up, and I'm like, really? That's fun. You spent all that money on your drinks to now throw it up and feel terrible? I would rather spend the money on good food or something else. There's a young woman who steals alcohol from a bar. Two people spend hours and hours drinking without eating any food to buffer the booze in their stomachs. And that's just dangerous and really stupid. And they're missing out probably on some good food, although bar food tends to not be that great, but they never show the couple eating. If so, I totally missed that. There are a lot of scenes with no dialogue, just shots of everyday life. Some people may find that boring. I like that if that's sort of the tone and the vibe and the pacing of a movie, but some people get really bored and they don't appreciate the artistry if it's done well. So let me tell you some of the themes that were done well in the movie. Brokenness or brokenness, referring to people who are broken, which is where it gets the name for its movie. Bar life, reflection, emotional trauma, loneliness, and connection. And actually, I just thought of one more thing I do like about the movie. This couple doesn't just instantly have a one night stand and it's all about the physical attraction. I like that they actually spend time talking and getting to know each other and trying to help each other, trying to just have a shoulder to cry on or someone to bounce ideas off of. And so I liked that part of the movie. So I always write down funny lines and interesting lines just so that I can share with you some of the script writing and the dialogue. And I have them all in my written review at moviereviewmom.com. I didn't write down any funny lines. The movie's not really laugh out loud funny. It's two broken people who are kind of sad and going through a tough moment. And so I didn't find any great funny lines to write down, but I did write down some interesting lines. For example, Jake Barnes, who plays the leading man, he's played by Nicholas Scott. He says, "The world's ending. At least that's how it feels sometimes." And I think a lot of viewers will actually be able to relate to that. I mean, we can look around the world and think politically, yeah, our country's ending, this world is ending, or the national disasters, or just personal disasters happening in your life, which is what they were both referring to. But it's a feeling that I think more and more people are feeling nowadays. Another line that he says is, "Thought I'd try the tortured artist at the bar for a while and see how that works." I guess you could say that's sort of a funny line. He tries to have a sense of humor, but they're both kind of in bummer downer moods. Harley Jennings, who's played by Brett Ashley, says, "Everyone has a story." And that's absolutely true. And we find our own stories to be fascinating. If you ever want to learn how to become a good conversationalist, ask somebody, "Tell me your story. Tell me what you're passionate about." And they will talk nonstop. And at the end of the evening, they'll say, "Wow, she sure was a nice person," or "He sure was a great guy," simply because you listened to their story. And then here are two more lines that I really did like. Brett Ashley, again, played by Harley Jennings, says, "Do you ever get the feeling that life's passing by so fast that you never get a chance to live it?" I absolutely feel that way, especially the older I get, the faster the years are going by. And then Nicholas Scott is talking about, his dreams for the future as well as dreams that he's had. And he says, "Dreaming is part of my process." And I think that that's really true for a lot of people as well. I thought that was interesting. I would have loved to have seen them explore that even more. And then, of course, for the titular title, Jake says, "We're all broken in different places." And then Brett, who's played by Harley, says, "And we're supposed to grow from that brokenness. But it really hurts sometimes." So I love that they both recognize that there is growth that's supposed to be happening, but they're not ready or they're not in the mindset yet to take action on the lessons learned. They just are hurting and they want to drink their pain away, with someone that they meet in the bar. And I can appreciate that too. I have pity parties just like everybody else. And then another theme for the movie, I should add this to my list, is when Jake says, "You are enough." And that's something that we all want to hear somebody tell us, right? Okay, now on to the movie recommendations that I have for you. Now, this is a trilogy that I have found to be just really interesting. I love that it's similar to this one in that it's a man and a woman, and they have just a chance meeting, but there's a connection. There's something there. All right, so the first one in this trilogy is called Before Sunrise. It was filmed back in 1995. And because it was so popular, people wanted more. They wanted to know what happens next. And so in 2004, the sequel came out called Before Sunset. And then again, we had to wait a long time. But again, people are like, anything else? Any more of this story? And so the final one came out in 2013 called Before Midnight. I also really like the titles, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. I think they may have covered all of the watches that occur during the night. So we'll see if they ever come up with another one. But I really enjoyed them. They're romantic. The conversations are really good. Whereas in this movie that I've been reviewing today, that was one of the things that I really wanted. There were a lot of quiet moments where you could think in the quietness, but I wanted some stimulating conversation. I wanted to fall in love with these characters because of their charming wit or their interesting perceptions on life or something like that. And that was just a little bit lacking for me. Now, I hope that if you watch this movie that you will enjoy it. And if not, definitely check out those three that I recommended. Thank you so much for spending time watching my movie review. I hope it helped. And for more movie reviews, click on the one that I'm recommending at the end of this one to see if it's another movie that you might like to watch. When you get a minute, run over to Instagram and click on Movie Review Mom and also my author name, Trina Boice. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.